This is the Water Quality Association podcast.
From 2021, we're up 35% on people who use water treatment. And then we're stickier now than ever before, meaning we're staying with water treatment. A full 91% of users, particularly those using certified products, plan to continue using their water quality improvement device.
That's WQA Vice President Greg Reyneke talking about the WQA Consumer Insights Report, what consumers really think about their water quality. And welcome to the podcast from the Water Quality Association, the leading voice of the residential, commercial, and industrial water treatment community. I'm Wes Bleed. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a show. It's the magic of podcasting. And be sure to join us on YouTube to see as well as hear our podcasts. In this episode of the podcast, we'll take a look at the key data from the 2025 WQA Consumer Insights Report. It's the definitive look at what consumers really think about water quality and water treatment. We're going to be joined by Greg Reyneke, who is the Vice President of WQA. He's also Managing Director at Red Fox Advisors. We'll take a look at what's changed in the report, what is trending, and what it means, most importantly, for water treatment professionals. Most important of all, how you can put it to use in your business. Plus, we'll have our WQA tip. It's all coming up on the Water Quality Association podcast. In this episode of the WQA podcast, we're discussing the WQA Consumer Insights Report. This is formerly known, you might remember, as the Consumer Opinion Study. It's the same thing in general, but we're getting into the new details for 2025, and it's expanded, it's retooled, and all designed to help WQA members. And frankly, anybody in the industry who isn't a member but interested in what we, the WQA, have to say about water quality and water treatment in general. And boy, we'd love to have you as a member. So keep that in mind in terms of what the report says. So our special guest is WQA's Vice President, Greg Reyneke. Greg is a Master Water Specialist and Managing Director of Red Fox Advisors. He was the 2025 Key Award recipient at the WQA convention. And interesting fact about Greg, he has treated water on every continent around the globe. So that's quite a feat. And Greg, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Wes. It's my pleasure to be with you today.
Well, as we said, this is a biannual report. We do it every 2 years, and the report contains really more than a decade of these reports of just what consumers think about water, water quality, water treatment, what they need to do for their own homes and businesses. And so first, let me just point out, and we'll say this again at the end of the show just to remind people, but you can get the report, if you haven't already, at insights.wqa.org. Members, you have to click a button to download the report. If you're a non-member, you'd have to enter your email. And it works very quickly. You get an email, you enter your name and address and email, and then you'll get a link in your email, and then you can click on that to download the report. So, all right, Greg, all that behind us. Let's talk about the report. Any real surprises?
No, not so much surprises as useful insight for me anyway. You know, sometimes as industry insiders, we get so hung up in what we do, we forget that there are people that don't appreciate what we do or know what we do or how we do. And probably something that hit me very hard is 58% of households worry about their tap water safety, but only 18% feel like they truly understand contaminants. And barely a third of them grasp the consumer confidence report that their utilities are providing them. So it highlighted to me the importance of having a local expert, that certified professional that they can rely on to help them understand what they should be interested in, what they could be concerned about, and most importantly, what they should be doing to help make their water feel good, taste great, work hard for them and their families.
Yeah, definitely. And it's the kind of thing, we'll talk more about this, but as members, WQA members, water treatment professionals in their local area. Obviously, we don't have specific information from a geographic standpoint, but you get a general sense of where people are when it comes to tracking information. And one of the things I noticed in the report was that water treatment ownership itself, water treatment products, is growing. We're seeing more and more treatment in homes, be it whole house or point of use, such as at the tap. And from a business standpoint, that's encouraging. I'm not sure that's encouraging from a water quality standpoint. I'm not sure how you interpret that.
Well, I suppose it comes down to a philosophical difference. 50, 60 years ago, we viewed the utility as this amazing thing that could provide us with an unlimited supply of incredibly great water. And they did. But unfortunately, we don't like to pay taxes, and we don't empower our utilities and the hardworking men and women that work in the water quality management field at the utility level. We don't give them all the money they need to make spectacular water. And really, at the end of the day, it's probably not that smart to make spectacular water for every drop that the city puts out, because on average, for about every 100 gallons that the city produces, barely a gallon goes inside humans. And so I think what this emphasizes to me is it reinforces the fact that we get phenomenal water at the utility level. Our working grade minimum standard meeting water is good, some of the best water in the world. But a lot of people are saying, okay, that's great. I want better. I don't want to live life at minimum standards. I want better. And when we look at the trending, we do this report every 2 years. And from 2021, we're up 35% on people who use water treatment. And then we're stickier now than ever before, meaning we're staying with water treatment. A full 91% of users, particularly those using certified products, plan to continue using their water quality improvement device. And so to me, I read into that, and obviously I'm biased as an industry insider, but I look at this and I say, people get it. People get that they, at the end of the day, are truly responsible for their own water. And the city is going to do the very best job they can with the dollars that we give them. And then it's up to us to take it further. That last stretch is up to us. And we get to choose how we want our water to work for us. We get to choose what contaminants we're okay with, what contaminants we're not okay with, and where we get our peace of mind, comfort, and safety from.
You mentioned contaminants. That's interesting, too. I think the report seems to show, if you look at the graph, and I may have misread this, but it seems to show that general awareness, unaided awareness, seems to have gone down from the last one. Just a few ticks. It's not huge. But it's interesting because on the one hand, there is more information out there, more growing awareness, as we've talked about. And on the other hand, if that's the case, if this report is accurate, it seems as though not as much unaided awareness was there in this report. What do you think?
Yeah, I found that interesting as well, and it reminded me of a conversation that Mike Mitchell and I had a few years ago at one of the WQA conventions, talking about, I think it was the 2021 survey, and the unaided awareness really is the key. And when we look at what people are thinking about, people kind of sort of know something's up with their water, and they get something in the news, something topical, and it sparks interest, but then it fizzles, and they're more interested in more local things, things that are going on that affect their lives. They don't necessarily quite understand what's going on with the potential health risks that are out there. When PFAS hit the world stage and everybody got all excited about PFAS and the lawyers went crazy suing everybody about PFAS, it was kind of interesting speculating about what the average American or average Western consumer would think. And it turned out that we were largely correct in that they said, oh, that's interesting. Sounds like it's somebody else's problem. I'm not going to worry about it. And so unaided awareness, people go, I don't know. I don't know what I'm concerned about. But then when you have a conversation and you say, Are you interested in protecting your family from lead, for example? You go, well, yeah, sure, but there's no lead in my water. And you go, how do you know? Now it's a different conversation. And I think that, again, harkens to the value of that trusted local professional who is going to adhere to that WQA code of ethics and work with that consumer, that homeowner, that mom, that dad, who's just trying to give their kids clean, safe, delicious water, but not go crazy and get all Howard Hughes about it and filter the water into oblivion. And you want to find that balance of clean enough to be healthy and dirty enough to be affordable.
Yeah, and we should point out that the survey is a nationwide survey. It's I think it was 1,400 households, so it's not as though everybody in the whole country is being asked what they think. But they, as surveys do, they extrapolate and they are able to put the percentages in place based on these responses. And some of them are going to vary from year to year, and some of the anomalies will kind of even out over time. I'm kind of guessing based on typical statistical analysis. But one of the things that's interesting is you see sort of a back and forth with things. Well, okay, 64% of households, for example, have never had their water tested. And yet 58% say, well, they are concerned about their water safety. So if that many were concerned, why wouldn't they go ahead and get it tested? And I'm not sure there's a clear answer. Perhaps there are some things like, I don't know how, or I don't know where I'd go, or I don't know what I would do, or maybe it's too expensive. Whether it is or not, they might think it is. So there are a number of factors involved, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, for sure. And, testing is one of those complicating factors. I remember watching an episode of The X-Files years ago, and somebody brought Mulder and Scully a vial of water, and they put it in a magic machine, and the machine told them everything that was in it in about 30 seconds. And I said, man, I wish that was reality. It's still not reality 30 years later. Testing is very complex, very tedious, very time-consuming, and unfortunately, it can get very expensive. So, for example, to do a PFAS panel, you could be hundreds of dollars for a typical retail testing experience. And for the average homeowner, that's an exorbitant amount of money. So you kind of have this paradigm you have to straddle. I'm a big proponent of water testing. A lot of what I do is solving problem water and scary water problems. And so my mantra is no test, no treat. On municipal water, for some homeowners, they go, you know what? I don't need to test my water. I know I don't like the taste of it. I'm just going to buy a filter that's got as many certifications on it as possible. And I'm going to put it in. If my water tastes better, I'm happy. And if it's got this little ANSI certification that says lead or PFAS or whatever else, I'm even happier. And so it's kind of interesting delving into that paradigm. And in the businesses that I work with and operate, there's some people that go, look, I just want to be safe. I don't necessarily even want to know what's in the water. Just make sure that whatever you do, I'll be protected if something goes wrong. So it's an interesting thing, and it'll be fun to see over the next few years where that logic goes as testing technology improves. As soon as we can get to solid state digital testing, system on chip, things like that, the cost and complexity of testing will go down exponentially, and it'll be an entirely different paradigm.
We will hold out hope for that scenario of the water treatment professional with the X-Files-like technology that would enable anybody to quickly ascertain the quality of water. And, the industry has changed dramatically as well. It used to be, hey, we're the softener guys. We deal with hard water. To the association's credit and to the industry's credit, there is so much more about water we are now able to tell people about. Is that not the case as well? And to make sure that they understand it's not just about hardness in your water, it's about other things as well.
Oh, for sure. It's all about the holistic of the water experience. When you think of your life, from the second you wake up to the second you go to sleep, there's barely a minute of your day that's not affected in some way by water quality. And so a lot of people are introduced to water quality improvement by softening, conditioning, filtration, whole house chlorine removal, all of these things that we consider aesthetic. But at the same time, we are also interested in the things that could potentially impact our health. Lead, for example, chromium, chlorine disinfection byproducts, so the things that could have a long-term negative impact on our health. And there's a lot of us, myself included, as we get older, we care a little bit more about our health than we used to. We try to get more sleep than we used to, and we pay a little more attention to what we fuel our body with. We look at the food we eat, and we look at the water that we drink, we look at the air we breathe. One of the easiest things to control, if you're looking to enhance your quality of life and your quantity, hopefully, is to control the quality of the water that you drink. There's that trite-old saying, the solution to pollution is dilution. Well, there's wisdom in drinking a lot of good, clean, safe, healthy water to help your body's metabolic processes to purge out all the toxins that we put into our bodies because of our lifestyle and our bad habits and everything else. And so hardness, soap, that's the gateway. That's the gateway into a better lifestyle through better water. And if we sell water softeners to homeowners, we help them with salt-free scale control technologies, we're doing good things. And it's a natural extension from there that we're able to talk about the impact of improved taste, improved quality. It just makes sense.
Motivators to purchasing a water treatment product or system included just general awareness that there might be a problem. But then we get into some other interesting aspects. The potential for a rebate program, or the fact that maybe you don't have to install it yourself. All other factors as well as motivators. So what do you draw from that?
Yeah, that was kind of interesting. I guess we all want free stuff. And so there's always going to be a motivation. Wait, I can get a filter and somebody else pays for it? I remember signing up for a new thermostat because my local energy utility would buy me a smart internet-connected thermostat and put it on to save the planet. And I thought that was cool. And it's kind of fun seeing how some of the various municipalities and regional water treatment authorities are kind of experimenting with the same logic. Can we help people in an area where we know it just doesn't make sense to centrally treat all the water to address one very difficult toxin? Let's give them a water filter. Let's give them a water filter to help them treat that problem locally. Of course, the concerns come in with maintenance and things like that, making sure that they're actually going to maintain the filter, because an improperly maintained filter is often worse than no filter at all. So we want to make sure that what's happening is being done properly. Something that I interpreted looking at that survey and talking through it with my team, people with a little encouragement are interested. And, I paid attention. Let me see if I can see the number here. 74% DIY self-installation interest. I thought that was really interesting. 22% on the rebates. And then only a 14% driver for no maintenance. So I thought that was interesting. For years and years and years, people have expressed aversion to a treatment product because they didn't want to deal with the complexities of maintenance. And I think our good manufacturers have made great strides in making the products easier to maintain, easier to use, more intuitive on when to maintain, when to replace cartridges, when to do cleaning, disinfection, things like that. So it's an easier product to own and operate. The end goal, I think, still has to be aspirational. I don't want people being scared of their water. We don't want somebody going, man, I can't trust the city, because that's certainly not the case. Here in the U.S., we have some of the cleanest, safest water in the world. My work takes me all over the world, and it's astounding to me how good we have it here in the States. But just as good as we have it, we can make it better. And part of the American experience is you're in control of your destiny. And so you can aspire to great water, and you can then invest in water quality management products to make your water better. And that comes down to somebody thinking about their water, thinking about the world they want to live in, and thinking about how they can feel comfortable and happy.
You're really good at this next point that I wanted to draw out from what you just said, and that is, how do you, the water treatment professional, how does one go about trying to inform the consumer about the very things you just said without scaring, without scare tactics, without saying, things are really going to be bad unless you hire me. We want to make sure there's the proper balance, because on the one hand, I can see the water treatment professional reading this report saying, hey, there's an opportunity here to make sure that consumers, homeowners, businesses in my area understand what's going on, while at the same time not coming across as overly aggressive, overly, hyping the problem. What do you think?
Yeah, that's always going to be a concern in any industry that addresses problems, whether it's security, whether it's water quality improvement. We're in an industry where we solve legitimate problems. And I use the term amateur. It's very amateur. The dilettante will go out and say hyperbolic things to get people to buy water. And the amateur will scare you into not trusting your water. And that's just not the case. I mean, if you drink water from your faucet, the whole concept around the EPA's MCL is that you can drink a glass of water from that faucet that meets minimum standards for 20 years, and you're not going to be at a risk of dying sooner than the average. That's great. That's perfect. For a lot of people, that's good enough. And in our industry, the worst thing we could do is say to somebody, don't trust the city. Good grief, I love the city. I'm in the business of making their water cleaner, but I'm so glad that they do the job that they do. I love the fact that they take out the sticks, the logs, the frogs, the cooties, and everything else that come in from the raw water. When you look at some of these municipalities and you see the horrible raw water they're having to deal with, and what a great job they do and how hard they work to make sure that it's safe and sanitary. Chlorination's a good thing. None of us like the smell of chlorine. We don't like the disinfection byproducts, even at the safe levels. It doesn't smell good. It's not aesthetically appealing. If I sit down to dinner and I have a glass of water and I smell chlorine in it, I know it's safe, but I don't like that smell. And then I have this niggling feeling in the back of my mind that those disinfection byproducts, there's a causal relationship with carcinogenesis. There's some cancers that are directly related to some of these disinfection byproducts at very high levels. And I go, I just don't want to take that risk. And so when I look at how I communicate to a homeowner and how I as a homeowner want to be communicated with, I want somebody to say to me, look, your water is safe. Your city's doing the best job they possibly can. This water meets minimum standards. And if you're happy with minimum standards, that's great. But if you aspire to live a better life, if you want a life where you're in total control of your water quality, which I do, I love having water quality management in my home where I know if there's a boil water order, I have the technology in place that I don't care. I just keep going. It's like having solar and battery backup. We have a power outage. I don't care. I look at that and I go, that's cool for somebody like me. For somebody who's less intense about being in control of things, and they just want yummy water at dinner, where they want to brush their teeth with delicious water, they want to make sure they're making the baby's bubble with clean, safe, healthy water, that's where our industry really gets to be shining, when we just help people understand that even though that city water is safe, we can make it safer. We can make it cleaner. We can make it more delicious. We can make it more fun to drink. We can make it more fun to bathe in. We can just make it more fun to live with. And that, at the end of the day, is what we do. We make lives better.
Very well said. And I don't want you to necessarily think that I'm asking the same question again, but what can members do with this report? In other words, we're encouraging them to download it, take a look at it. We've just talked about the things that you want to make sure that you keep in mind when dealing with a consumer, when answering questions, et cetera. But is there any more that you would suggest that this report is able to convey or help? You mentioned, for example, that you discussed it with your team. I would imagine that's a very good idea for most of our members. Sit down, take a look at the report. What strikes you Joe. What about you, Mary? And kind of get your hands around the data, right? And of course, I don't know that I mentioned this at the beginning, but if you're a Premier member, you get access to all of the raw data. So it's tremendous in terms of the insights that you can get. But just in general, what can our members do? Maybe we can kind of wrap up the conversation with this question. Where can we go with a report like this?
Well, you hit it right on. Read the thing. I mean, there's a lot of time, money, effort, and energy put into developing this report. The best thing you can do is download it and read it. The next best thing you can do is have your team read it, particularly your management and leadership teams. But it's good to have all employees, whether they work in the field or in the office, have them read it and then talk about it together. Talk about some of the cautions where we see problems, where we see concerns, where we see homeowners might have something they're worried about. Let's talk about how we can message that appropriately within our ethics and our high standards of conduct. Talk about how unaided awareness of contamination is a good indicator to us of what people are thinking about. You know, we sometimes think people wake up every day and worry about their water, and that's just not the case. So it's our job to help educate people about how much better their water can become. For the marketing teams, look at some of those numbers. I mean, the one that hit me was looking at the people who are going to put in treatment when they remodel. How many people are in a home right now? You know, interest rates, age, there's a number of factors that have created some latency in the housing market movement. How many people are saying, hey, my next house, I am going to treat the water? And wouldn't this motivate somebody like a dealer to read this report and go, I'm going to be at the Home Builders Association meeting this week. I'm going to remind them that I treat water and I'm here to help. You know, and maybe that helps us spur a conversation where we can guide more people on how they can make their life better with that water quality.
Lots of great insights in the Consumer Insights report from the Water Quality Association. Tremendous member benefit. Again, you can get the public version, but you can also get the member version if you are a WQA member. And then the Premier member, that's our very highest ranking, if you want to call it that, member. They get the full report with all of the data sets and so forth. It's a great report that comes out every 2 years. And it's a nationwide survey. We've talked about that. Go to insights.wqa.org and download that report. Greg, any final thoughts before we close?
We are in one of the most noble professions in the world. We make lives better every single day. And all we need to do is keep doing what we're doing. So let's make sure we understand our craft. Let's make sure we understand the science. Let's make sure we certify our people to the highest personnel standards. Let's make sure we use certified products. And let's make sure we help improve people's lives every single day by improving the quality of their water.
Thanks, Greg. Greg Reyneke, Managing Director at Red Fox Advisors and Master Water Specialist, Vice President of the Water Quality Association. He will be the President in 2026-2027. Looking forward to that, Greg, very much. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Wes.
And now our WQA tip. Did you know that you can book your hotel room for the upcoming WQA 2026 WQA Convention and Expo in Miami Beach? Now, registration will open at a later date, but hotel booking can be performed online now by going to wqa.org/convention. Convention dates April 28th through the 30th, 2026. Again, it's in Miami Beach, Florida. We look forward to seeing you there. Learn more at wqa.org/convention. Thanks for joining us for the Water Quality Association podcast. Learn more about water and water filtration at our consumer website, betterwatertoday.org. And learn more about professional certification, the Gold Seal Product Certification Program, and how you can become a member at WQA.org.